The alien king presented his adult daughter welcome to the family. Human the royal summons the shuttle descended through iridescent clouds, and Marcus Chen watched crystalline spires emerge against Deferia's amber sky. 3 months of preparation had brought him here, yet nothing prepared him for the alien beauty spreading below. Landing in 5 minutes, Ambassador, Captain Reeves announced from the pilot's seat. Marcus straightened his diplomatic uniform, reviewing protocols one final time. The Zephyrians valued directness wrapped in ceremony. They appreciated emotional authenticity as the highest respect. Their royal family held absolute authority but governed through collective harmony. The landing pad materialized, glowing stone beneath them. Dozens of Zephyrian courtiers stood in formation, their robes catching the breeze like silk waves. At the center stood King Veron, radiating unmistakable power. Marcus stepped onto alien soil. The air was sweeter than Earth's, carrying hints of cinnamon and ozone. The assembled court bowed in synchronization. Ambassador Marcus Chen of Earth. King Veron's voice rolled like velvet thunder. Welcome to Zephyria. Your Majesty, the honor is mine. I bring Earth's goodwill and sincere desire for lasting friendship. The king's approval was clear, words of genuine intent. Already you prove worthy, he gestured expansively. Come, we've prepared a reception. As they walked toward the palace, the crowd parted. That's when Marcus saw her. She stood near an archway carved with patterns that seemed to move. Her robes were deeper blue than others, edged with silver that caught light with each movement. But her gaze stopped to mid-stride, intense, unwavering, fixed directly on him with curiosity and something more intriguing. King Veron smiled knowingly. Ambassador Chen, may I present Lady Kelith, my daughter and heir. Kelith stepped forward with fluid grace. Ambassador Chen, I've been studying your world with great interest. Your planet's diversity is fascinating. She tilted her head. Though diplomatic files give only facts, they say nothing of the person behind the title. There was directness in her words that went beyond courtesy. Marcus felt the entire court's attention, yet Kelith seemed utterly unconcerned. Then perhaps the files are incomplete, Marcus replied, finding his footing. I'd be honored to provide a more complete picture. Her smile widened with genuine pleasure. I hoped you'd say that. She glanced at her father. With permission, I'd like to show the ambassador our palace gardens after the reception. King Veron's expression remained neutral, but something flashed in his eyes. An excellent suggestion. Who better than one who's walked among them since childhood? The reception blurred past introductions, toasts, calibrated conversations. Marcus moved through it with practiced ease, yet remained constantly aware of Kelith across the hall. Several times he caught her watching, and each time she held his gaze with bold confidence. Chancellor Orith appeared at Marcus's elbow. Ambassador, I trust you find our hospitality adequate? More than adequate, Chancellor. The king values this alliance greatly. It's important nothing complicates the negotiations. Wade filled those words a warning wrapped diplomatically. Before Marcus could respond, Kelith materialized beside them. Chancellor Orith, how kind of you to monopolize our guest, she said lightly, though her eyes held challenge. But the ambassador promised me a walk. The evening light will be perfect soon. She extended her hand toward Marcus, not formal greeting but clear invitation. The hall held its breath. Marcus looked at the offered hand, at Kelith's face where confidence and invitation mingled, then at King Veron, who watched with benign interest, revealing nothing. Protocol suggested excuses, proper timing, chaperones. Caution whispered about complications Chancellor Orith warned against, but Kelith's eyes held recognition. As if seeing something in him beyond his ambassador role, Marcus took her hand. I would be honored, Lady Kelith. Her fingers were warm, and as she led him toward the garden entrance, he heard conversations resume behind them. He didn't need to look back to know Chancellor Orith was displeased, that courtiers would gossip, that he just made his mission infinitely more complicated. But as they passed through the archway and alien flower scent washed over him, as Keleth squeezed his hand gently and smiled with unguarded delight, Marcus found he didn't care. Some moments were worth the complications. Forbidden Glance's negotiations began at dawn in a chamber where light filtered through crystal panels, painting everything amber and rose. Marcus sat across from King Veron and his council, surrounded by holographic displays, showing trade routes and resource agreements, yet his gaze kept drifting to where Keleth sat among observers. Each time, he found her already watching, a slight curve to her lips suggesting she knew exactly her effect. Ambassador Chun, Chancellor Orith's voice cut through his distraction. Your thoughts on the technology sharing clause? Marcus forced attention back. I believe Earth can agree, with one modification. Our scientists would appreciate direct collaboration rather than simple data exchange. Understanding context proves as valuable as discoveries themselves. King Veron nodded thoughtfully. Knowledge without understanding is merely information. We accept your modification. As the session concluded, Keleth approached with two courtiers flanking her, maintaining propriety even as her eyes sparkled with mischief. Ambassador Chun, would you be interested in viewing our royal archives this afternoon? They contain treaties dating back thousands of years. I thought it might provide useful historical context. Her companion added, Lady Keleth has been cataloging our interplanetary diplomacy records. Her expertise would be invaluable. It was carefully presented legitimate diplomatic value while creating opportunity for them to be alone. Marcus saw Chancellor Orith watching, expression dark with suspicion. That sounds extremely useful, Marcus replied professionally despite his racing pulse. Excellent. The third hour after midday? The archives are in the Western Tower. The hours crawled. Marcus tried reviewing notes, but his mind wandered to their garden. Walk hours of conversation moving from cultural traditions to personal revelations. Keleth had shared dreams of expanding Zephyrian influence through connection rather than conquest. Marcus had voiced his own idealistic hopes for humanity among the stars, admitting doubts rarely voiced to anyone, and through it all ran awareness shoulders brushing, her laughter resonating in his chest. The moment she'd taken his hand while pointing out, constellations dot the Western Tower's archives occupied a circular chamber that seemed to defy physics. Shelves spiraled upward into shadows, while soft light emanated from wall crystals. The air smelled of preserved paper and spice. Keleth stood at a central table, holographic texts hovering around her like luminous butterflies. She'd changed into something simpler, deep green that made her skin seem to glow. When she saw him, her professional demeanor cracked, revealing genuine pleasure. Marcus. His name without title felt intimate. I'm glad you came. They spent an hour genuinely reviewing documents. Marcus found himself impressed by Keleth's analytical mind. She understood underlying dynamics, compromises, and creative solutions that made ancient alliances work. You see here, she pointed to a glowing text, leaning close enough that he caught her scent like night-blooming flowers. They established a cultural liaison position, someone who lived part of each year in both worlds, becoming a living bridge. That's brilliant. Marcus studied the text, acutely aware of how near she stood. It creates personal investment in both cultures' success. Yes, personal investment changes everything. When he looked at her, he found her facing him fully, documents forgotten. The air between them felt charged. Keleth, he began, but she pressed a finger gently to his lips. Don't say what you think you should say. Don't be the diplomat. Just for this moment, be Marcus. Be the man who held my hand under triple moons and told me about Earth's oceans like poetry. His heart hammered. Every rational thought screamed warnings about protocol, complications, the delicate alliance. But her eyes held such raw honesty that logic crumbled. I can't stop thinking about you, he admitted. Since I saw you in that archway, you've been in every thought. During negotiations, I should focus on trade agreements, but I'm watching to see if you smile. It's reckless and probably foolish, and I know a dozen reasons to walk away right now. And yet you're still here. She moved closer until he felt her warmth. I think the universe brought you to my world for more than treaties. One thinks some connections transcend protocol. Your father, the Chancellor, they're all watching. Let them watch. Her hand rose to touch his face, fingers tracing his jawline. I've spent my life being the perfect heir, making every choice based on duty. But when I look at you, I feel something I've only read about in poetry. I feel possibility. I feel alive in a way I never have before. Marcus caught her hand, holding it against his face, torn between desire and duty. If this complicates the alliance, then we'll find a way to uncomplicate it. Or maybe it will strengthen it in ways no treaty ever could. My father believes in bonds between peoples, not just governments. What stronger bond than genuine connection? They stood frozen, balanced between restraint and surrender. Somewhere above, something chimed like distant bells. Marcus knew he should step back. But Keleth's eyes held such fierce honesty, such courage and vulnerability, that he found himself leaning forward instead. Their lips met softly, tentatively, a question rather than demand. For a heartbeat neither moved, then Keleth made a small sound, her fingers curling into his jacket as she pressed closer. The kiss deepened, speaking of longing and recognition, of two people finding unexpected sanctuary. When they drew apart, both breathing rapidly, Marcus felt the world had fundamentally shifted. We should probably talk about what this means, he managed. Though his arms had found their way around her waist, Keleth laughed, breathless. Must we? Can't we exist in this perfect moment longer? Then her expression grew serious. Though you're right. Chancellor Orith already suspects. He warned me this morning about inappropriate attachments and royal dignity. He gave me a similar warning yesterday. He fears change. He wants a neat, predictable alliance built on documents. He doesn't understand that the strongest bonds are messy and personal and real. So what do? We're careful. We're discreet. But we don't hide. She squeezed his hand. I won't pretend I don't care for you, Marcus. I won't diminish what I feel to make others comfortable. However, we can be mindful of timing and appearances. A sound from the entrance made them spring apart. Desta, Keleth's companion, appeared, expression carefully neutral. Lady Keleth, your presence is requested at the evening council session. And Ambassador Chun, Captain Reeves has been looking for you. After Desta departed, Keleth turned back to Marcus. Tonight there's a gathering in the East Gardens. Informal, just courtiers and visiting dignitaries. It would be perfectly appropriate for you to attend. Will you be there? Her smile was radiant. Where else would I be?
The Festival of Stars. 3 days of careful diplomacy followed. Marcus and Keleth maintained proper decorum in public, their interactions polite and professional. But stolen glances spoke volumes, and twice they'd found excuses to meet privately, once in an art gallery where they'd kissed among ancient sculptures, then in a meditation garden at dawn where they talked until morning gongs summoned them to duties. The treaty was taking shape. Marcus should have felt triumphant, but he found himself increasingly distracted by the woman who sat in every meeting, offering sharp insights while her eyes promised other things entirely. Captain Reeves pulled him aside after a session. Sir, the Krell Collective delegation has arrived. They're suspicious about our success here when their own relations with Zephyria remain formal. What are you suggesting, Captain? Just that success breeds scrutiny. We're under a microscope, and not everyone wishes Earth well. As if punctuating her warning, Chancellor Orth appeared. Ambassador Chen, a moment. Reeves withdrew. The Chancellor waited until they were alone. I won't insult your intelligence by pretending I don't know what's developing between you and Lady Calith. The entire court knows. It's becoming a distraction. With respect, Chancellor, my relationship with Lady Calith hasn't interfered with negotiations. Our progress has been exemplary. Progress built on sand. What happens when you return to Earth, when this infatuation cools? Will the alliance survive when hearts are broken and resentment festers? The words struck deeper than Marcus wanted to admit. He hadn't allowed himself to think that far ahead, to consider the practical impossibility of maintaining any real relationship across the vast distance of space. I have no intention of breaking anyone's heart. Intentions mean little against reality. Orth's expression softened slightly. I don't doubt your sincerity, nor Lady Calith's, but she is heir to our throne. Can you truly see a place for yourself in that future? Before Marcus could respond, Calith appeared, face flushed with excitement. Marcus, Chancellor Orth. She nodded to both. Father has declared tonight will hold the Festival of Stars, a tradition when important alliances are formed. Her eyes found Marcus. As our honored guest, you'll be expected to attend. I would be honored. The festival begins at sunset in the grand courtyard. I'll be performing the traditional dance of pathways. Perhaps you'll find it enlightening, Ambassador. After she departed, Orth sighed. You see how she looks at you? This is precisely what I feared. Then perhaps you should have more faith, Marcus replied, in Lady Calith's judgment, in the strength of what we're building, and in the possibility that some connections are meant to transcend obstacles. The festival transformed the palace. Luminescent flowers bloomed along pathways, releasing pollen that floated like tiny stars. Musicians created sounds between bells and wind. Courtiers and dignitaries gathered in ceremonial robes. King Varian stood at a raised platform. Tonight we celebrate not just an alliance between worlds, but the fundamental truth that we are stronger together. The Festival of Stars reminds us that even the vastest darkness is conquered by light. Applause rippled through the assembly. Tonight, my daughter, Lady Calith, will perform the Dance of Pathways. Watch closely, for in her movements you will see our past, our present, and perhaps glimpses of futures yet unwritten. The lights dimmed until only starlight and luminescent flowers provided illumination. From shadows, Calith emerged. She wore a gown woven from moonlight itself, shifting between silver and pale blue with each movement. Her hair flowed loose, but it was her presence that captivated, grace transcending mere physical beauty. The music began soft and haunting. Calith started slowly, movements suggesting isolation, a single figure reaching out to empty space. Her dance told a story of loneliness and longing, of searching for connection in the vast universe. As music built, her movements grew more passionate, more desperate. She spun and leapt, arms extended as if trying to bridge impossible distances. Marcus found himself leaning forward, completely entranced. Every gesture seemed meant for him. The music shifted, becoming warmer. Another rhythm joined, and Calith's movements changed. She danced now with an invisible partner, her body moving in response to something only she could perceive. Joy began to infuse her movements, hope and recognition. She reached out, and in her face, Marcus saw the same expression she'd worn when they kissed, vulnerable and fierce and utterly unguarded. The dance climaxed in spinning movements that left her breathless at the platform's center, arms extended toward sky as if embracing the stars themselves. When she stilled, silence held for 3 heartbeats before applause erupted like thunder. Marcus found himself clapping with everyone else, heart pounding. She bowed to her father, then to the assembly, but when her eyes found Marcus, she held his gaze for a long moment that felt intimate despite hundreds watching. The formal festival concluded and the gathering dissolved into smaller groups. Marcus kept searching the crowd for Caliph. He found her, or rather she found him, appearing at his elbow as he stood on a terrace overlooking the courtyard. That was extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it. It's a sacred dance, meant for special occasions. It represents the journey every soul takes from solitude to connection. It felt personal. It was. She glanced around, ensuring relative privacy. I was dancing for you, Marcus. Every movement, every gesture. I wanted you to see how you've changed me, how you've brought light into spaces I didn't know were dark. Marcus turned to face her fully. Caliph, Chancellor Orth spoke to me today. He's concerned about us, about what happens when I eventually return to Earth. And what do you think happens? Fear flickered in her eyes. I don't know. I haven't wanted to think about it that far. These past days have felt like existing outside normal time. Then let's not give reality that power. Not tonight. Tonight, let's just be two people who found each other against all odds. Someone might see us. Let them. But she tugged him further along the terrace, into shadows cast by flowering vines, though I prefer to keep some things private. In darkness lit only by scattered luminescent blooms and distant starlight, Caliph pulled him close. Kiss me, Marcus. Kiss me like you did in the archives. He needed no further invitation. His lips found hers with desperate tenderness, and she responded with equal fervor, hands sliding up to tangle in his hair. They kissed like people making promises they weren't sure they could keep, like lovers defying fate itself. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Caliph rested her forehead against his. I know this is complicated. I know there are obstacles and practical impossibilities, but what I feel for you is real, more real than anything I've ever experienced. I feel the same. Whatever happens, whatever we face, I want you to know that meeting you, knowing you, has changed everything for me. Then we face it together. She pulled back to look into his eyes. My father believes in the power of personal bonds to shape political realities. Perhaps it's time we tested that theory. Meaning, a smile curved her lips, equal parts mischief and determination. Meaning, tomorrow, I'm proposing something to the council, something radical. Should I be worried? Probably, but also excited. Trust me, Marcus. Trust that sometimes the most unlikely solutions actually work. Before he could press for details, voices drifted from the main terrace. Caliph squeezed his hand once more, then stepped back, expression shifting to courtly composure. We should return. People will wonder where we've gone. As they walked back, maintaining careful distance, Marcus felt the connection like a physical tether. Whatever Caliph was planning, whatever radical proposal she intended, he would stand beside her. Some bridges were worth burning everything else to build.
Trials of the Heart. The council chamber felt charged with anticipation. Marcus had barely slept, replaying Caliph's cryptic words. Captain Reeves reported increased activity among the Krell delegation, whispered conversations ceasing whenever Earth personnel approached. King Veyron called the session to order. Today we address final elements of our alliance, but first, Lady Caliph has requested to speak. As heir, her voice carries weight. Caliph rose, moving before the assembled council with regal bearing. She wore formal robes of deep purple, hair arranged in intricate style reserved for official pronouncements. But when her eyes briefly met Marcus's, he saw the woman from the terrace. Honored council, esteemed delegates, I come with a proposal drawing from our oldest traditions. The Treaty of Outer Harmonies established the position of cultural liaison, a person who would live between two worlds, embodying the alliance through their very existence. Chancellor Orth shifted uncomfortably. Lady Caliph, that treaty involved civilizations of comparable development and proximity. The circumstances were quite different. Different, yes, but the principle remains sound. Caliph's gaze swept the chamber. An alliance built solely on documents is fragile. It exists in the abstract, but an alliance built on genuine connection, on shared experience and mutual understanding, becomes unbreakable. A Krell delegate spoke, voice like wind chimes. Lady Kylith suggests personal bonds as political strategy. The Krell have observed the attachment between the Zephyrian heir and Earth ambassador. Is this proposal merely formalization of romantic entanglement? The chamber erupted in murmurs. Marcus felt every eye turned toward him. His training screamed at him to deflect, deny, protect the mission, but Caliph stood before them with such courage, refusing to hide. He stood. With respect to the Krell delegation, what Lady Kylith and I have discovered goes beyond simple romantic entanglement. It represents exactly the kind of genuine connection that transforms words on a treaty into lived reality. Chancellor Orth rose, face dark with displeasure. This is precisely the complication I warned against. Ambassador Chen, you were sent to negotiate an alliance, not pursue personal relationships with royalty. Your objectivity is compromised, your judgment clouded. My judgment has led to the most comprehensive interstellar alliance in Earth's history. Every clause serves both our peoples. My feelings for Lady Kylith haven't clouded anything. If anything, they've given me deeper insight into Zephyrian values. Pretty words, but what happens when this passion fades? When the ambassador returns to Earth and distance erodes connection? We'll be left with a treaty built on failed romance, poisoned by resentment. Then perhaps, Kylith interjected, the ambassador shouldn't return to Earth, not permanently. Silence crashed over the chamber. King Veyron leaned forward, expression unreadable. Explain, daughter. I propose Marcus Chen be appointed Earth's permanent cultural liaison to Zephyria, while I simultaneously serve as Zephyria's representative to Earth. We would split our time between both worlds, 6 months in each, creating living bridges between our peoples. The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. She was proposing they build a life together, officially, as part of the alliance structure. It was audacious, unprecedented, and absolutely brilliant. This is madness, Orth protested. The heir cannot simply divide her time between worlds. Your duties, your responsibilities, can be fulfilled from anywhere, Kylith interrupted. We have instantaneous communication across stars. My father ruled half our empire remotely during the Outer Rim expansion. The throne does not require physical presence every moment. King Veyron studied his daughter for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. It is unconventional, but then we live in unconventional times. The question becomes whether Earth would accept such an arrangement. All eyes turned to Marcus. He thought of Earth, of the diplomatic corps, of political realities. This wasn't the decision he could make unilaterally. Yet some moments required leaping before looking. I cannot speak for my entire government, but I can say that Earth sent me to build bridges. Lady Kylith's proposal does exactly that in the most profound way possible. I would be honored to serve as cultural liaison. Assuming your superiors agree, Orth said dryly, and assuming this romantic attachment survives harsh reality. It will, Kylith stated with absolute certainty, because what Marcus and I have found isn't fleeting passion. It's recognition. It's partnership. It's two people who see the same future and want to build it together. Before anyone could respond, an alarm sounded, deep thrumming resonating through palace walls. A guard rushed in, bowing quickly. Your Majesty, we've detected unauthorized transmissions from the Krell delegation's quarters. They've been sending detailed reports to their homeworld, including classified treaty terms. The Krell delegates erupted in protests, crystalline forms flashing with agitation. This is outrageous. We are honored guests, not criminals. Guests who apparently engage in espionage. Your Majesty's voice carried absolute authority. Were you planning to undermine these negotiations? The lead Krell delegate's form shifted colors, indicating deep discomfort. Not undermine, merely ensure our civilization isn't left behind by this new alliance. Earth and Zephyria together represent enormous power. The Krell deserve equal consideration, which you would achieve through theft rather than honest negotiation. Kylith stepped forward. If the Krell wished to be part of discussions, you had only to ask. Marcus saw the situation deteriorating. The Krell were proud, and public humiliation might turn potential future allies into definite enemies. More importantly, this crisis provided ammunition for those wanting to derail the alliance. He moved to stand beside Kylith, a deliberate choice to present a united front. Your Majesty, perhaps this incident reveals not the Krell's duplicity, but rather challenges inherent in expanding cooperation between species. The Krell are right that a bilateral alliance shifts the balance of power. Rather than viewing this as betrayal, perhaps we should see it as opportunity. Chancellor Orth's eyebrows rose. You would reward espionage with opportunity? I would acknowledge legitimate concerns before they become legitimate grievances. Your people feel marginalized. That's understandable. What if we expanded the cultural liaison program beyond just Earth and Zephyria? What if we created a framework that other civilizations could join, each contributing their own liaisons, building a network of genuine understanding across the stars? King Veyron's expression shifted from anger to consideration. You propose transforming a bilateral alliance into something larger. Why not? Kylith's eyes lit with excitement. It's what we've been working toward, isn't it? Not just connecting two worlds, but beginning something that could eventually unite many. The Krell could be part of that foundation, rather than excluded from it. The lead Krell delegate's form slowly shifted toward calmer colors. Such inclusion would require equal standing, equal voice. Of course, Marcus agreed. An alliance of equals, each bringing unique perspectives and strengths. More complex, certainly, but also far more robust. Chancellor Orth looked between Marcus and Kylith with an expression somewhere between frustration and grudging respect. You two have thought about this. Not specifically, Kylith admitted, but we've talked about broader vision, about what we could build if we stopped thinking in terms of individual treaties and started imagining true cooperation. This changes everything, Orth said slowly. The scope, the complexity, the risks, and the rewards, King Veyron interjected. My daughter and Ambassador Chen may be more visionary than we've given them credit for. He rose. This council will recess while we consider these proposals. The Krell will remain as guests, though monitored, while we determine if they're sincere about wanting inclusion. As the chamber emptied, Chancellor Orth approached Marcus and Kylith. His stern features softened slightly. You surprised me today, both of you. I thought this was merely infatuation clouding judgment. I'm still not convinced it isn't, but I acknowledge that your connection has generated ideas I would not have considered. Does that mean you'll support the cultural liaison proposal? Kylith asked. It means I'll stop actively opposing it. I lost someone once, long ago, to what I thought was political necessity. I chose duty over love, and I've regretted it every day since. Perhaps I've been projecting my own failures onto you both. After he departed, Marcus and Kylith stood together in the nearly empty chamber. Did we just completely upend interstellar diplomacy? Marcus asked. Possibly. Kylith took his hand, no longer caring who might see. Are you having second thoughts? About expanding the alliance? No, I think it's brilliant. About us? Never. Though I should probably contact Earth and explain their ambassador just volunteered to become a permanent resident of an alien world. Will they understand? I thought about his superiors, of bureaucrats and politicians, but I also thought about the bigger picture.
Unity forged. Morning sun painted the council chamber gold and amber as representatives from 3 worlds gathered. Marcus had spent half the night communicating with Earth. To his surprise, his superiors had been excited rather than alarmed. Humanity had waited centuries for this moment. King Veyron stood before the assembly. 3 days ago, we gathered to formalize an alliance between 2 worlds. Today, we lay the foundation for something far greater. But first, I have a personal matter to address. He turned to where Marcus and Kylith sat. Marcus felt his pulse quicken. Ambassador Chen, Lady Kaelith, would you please stand? They rose together. Marcus was acutely aware of every eye upon them, the Krell delegates watching with crystalline faces, Chancellor Orith with an expression that might have been acceptance, Captain Reeves giving an encouraging nod. My daughter has always possessed vision beyond her years, King Veyron began, voice carrying warmth. When she was young, she would stand at the observation deck and stare at the stars, asking about the peoples who lived among them. She didn't just want to know about their technologies or governments. She wanted to know about their dreams, their hopes, what made them laugh and what brought them sorrow. Kaelith's hand found Marcus's, their fingers intertwining. I told her then that the greatest leaders aren't those who command from distance, but those who understand intimately the lives they guide. I told her true unity comes not from treaties alone, but from the courage to connect across every boundary that separates us. The king's eyes swept the chamber. When I invited Ambassador Chen to Zephyria, I did so knowing the future of interstellar relations would not be built on careful distance and formal protocols alone. I had studied his approach to negotiation. I saw in him someone who understood that politics is ultimately about people. Marcus felt his throat tighten with emotion. What I did not anticipate was how deeply and quickly you and my daughter would recognize each other. I had hoped for mutual respect, perhaps friendship. What I witnessed instead was something far more profound. He moved to stand before them both. I have watched you navigate the challenges of your feelings while never losing sight of your larger purpose. I have seen how your connection has not weakened the negotiations, but rather enriched them, bringing insight and creativity neither of you might have achieved alone. Chancellor Orith cleared his throat. Your Majesty, if I may, speak. Of course, old friend. The Chancellor rose, stern features softening. I have been resistant to this development. I believed personal entanglements and political strategy make uncomfortable bedfellows. However, I have witnessed something I did not expect. Ambassador Chen and Lady Kaelith have demonstrated that their bond generates strength rather than weakness, innovation rather than distraction. He faced them directly. I owe you both an apology. I projected my own failures onto your situation. If you can forge a partnership that serves both your hearts and your peoples, then you will have achieved something I once thought impossible. Kaelith's grip on Marcus's hand tightened, tears gathering in her eyes. King Veyron smiled. Which brings me to my announcement. The Council has reviewed Lady Kaelith's proposal. After extensive deliberation, including consultation with Earth's government, we have reached a decision. The chamber held its collective breath. We approve the proposal in full. Ambassador Marcus Chen will serve as Earth's first cultural liaison to Zephyria, while Lady Kaelith will simultaneously serve as Zephiria's representative to Earth. You will divide your time between both worlds, 6 months in each. Relief and joy flooded through Marcus. Beside him, Kaelith was beaming, tears flowing freely. Furthermore, we extend an invitation to the Krell Collective to participate in this expanded framework. Should they wish to appoint their own cultural liaison, we will welcome them into a trilateral alliance of equals, with provisions for additional civilizations to join in the future. The lead Krell delegate rose, crystalline form shifting through a spectrum of colors indicating deep emotion. The Krell Collective accepts with gratitude and humility.
We acknowledge our error in attempting to obtain information through deception. We commit ourselves to honest partnership moving forward." Applause erupted through the chamber, genuine and enthusiastic. Marcus found himself embracing Caliph openly, no longer caring about protocol. "We did it," she whispered against his shoulder. "You did it. Your courage, your vision. Then we did it together, as we'll do everything from now on." King Veyron raised his hands for quiet. "There is one more matter. Lady KLF, Ambassador Chen, your proposal solves political and diplomatic challenges admirably, but it does not address the personal question at the heart of this situation." Marcus felt a flutter of uncertainty. What had they missed? The king's expression softened into something almost mischievous. "You are two people who have found love across the stars. Our alliance will be strengthened by your partnership, yes. But what of your happiness? What of the life you wish to build together beyond your duties?" "Father, I don't understand." "Then let me be clear, daughter." King Veyron stepped closer, voice dropping to something more intimate despite the watching crowd. "I give you my blessing, not just as king approving a diplomatic arrangement, but as a father supporting her daughter's choice of partner. Ambassador Chen, you have proven yourself worthy through genuine character. You have shown respect for our culture while maintaining your own integrity. You have demonstrated wisdom, creativity, and most importantly, you have made my daughter happier than I have ever seen her." "I don't know what to say, Your Majesty." "Say you'll take care of her. Say you'll stand beside her through whatever challenges this extraordinary life brings. She is my heir, my pride, the best of everything I hope to contribute to this universe. I entrust her to you, not because politics demand it, but because I believe you will cherish what I hold most precious." "I will," I managed, his voice thick with emotion. "I swear it. She's already the most important thing in my life. She challenges me, inspires me, makes me want to be better. I'll spend every day trying to be worthy of the gift she's given me." Caliph was openly crying, moving to embrace her father. "Thank you. Thank you for understanding, for believing in us." "My darling daughter, I have believed in you from the moment you were born. This merely confirms what I already knew, that you would change the galaxy." He held her tightly, then released her back to Marcus. "Now let us make this official." The remainder of the session passed in a blur of formalities, documents signed and sealed. The treaty between Earth, Zephyria, and the Krell represented the most comprehensive interstellar cooperation agreement in recorded history. But for Marcus, the true significance lay in the woman beside him and the future they would build together. As the session concluded, Captain Reeves approached, professional demeanor cracking into a genuine smile. "Congratulations, sir." "So I suppose I should say cultural liaison now?" "I suppose you should. This wasn't exactly the mission I was sent to accomplish." "No, sir. It was considerably better." She glanced at Caliph. "She's remarkable. You're a lucky man." After she departed, Caliph rejoined Marcus, slipping her hand into his with comfortable familiarity. "The Krell have invited us to visit their homeworld next month. Apparently their crystalline gardens have light like nothing in the known galaxy." "Then we'll go. We'll see crystalline gardens and binary sunsets and whatever other wonders this galaxy holds, together." They walked out onto the terrace overlooking the city, the same place where they'd shared their first kiss. The afternoon sun painted the crystalline spires in shades of amber and rose. "Are you scared?" Caliph asked quietly. "About leaving everything you've known, building a life split between two worlds?" Marcus considered seriously. "A little.
Change is always frightening, even good change. But mostly I'm excited. I came to Zephyria hoping to accomplish one thing, and instead I found something infinitely better. I found purpose. I found partnership. I found you.